Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are in the world. I'm Gerard Scarpese, co-founder of the Hairbrain Community and Craft Hairdresser. Super proud today to bring you the man, the myth, the legend, Garin. Goes by one name, that's all he needs. One of the most important hairdressers, I'd say in the past 25, 30 years. More Vogue covers, I think, than anyone ever, is that right?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. It's been, you were very kind
That's
in how many years I've worked.
That's the statistic that I know. More Vogue covers than anyone. Also one of the co-founders of R&Co. He's going to be sharing an incredible makeover today on his beautiful model, Sonia. Are you ready for a big change?
I'm so excited.
It's going to be super excited. She's a professional model. This is going to be a big boost to her career to have a makeover by Garin. Garin's going to walk us through the concept and a little bit of his process and then get into the haircut. Be sure to share your questions with us. I'll chime in and make sure that they get answered. Garin, let us know what you got planned.
Here we go. So when I saw Sonia's card and then I was sent selfies of her, I noticed that she was in a rut, and being that I feel that she can take her career to the next level because she's been modeling for a while. I suggested, at first she just wanted it cut to her shoulders or just below her shoulders. And I basically told her, I said, let's rethink this. And so my inspirations that I showed her were over on the wall here, this is Adya, and this is from the Cannes Film Festival. Notice how the hair is free, it's short, it's bobbed, but it's easy, and it's done with evening clothes. So she's a woman that looks sexy, and she could be any woman she wants to be. Then we have Jessica Chastain, and we have Cara Delevingne. Their hair is cut similar to this, and notice how it's sexy. There's something sexy about this shorter hair, and it's not a lob, and it's more of a chop, and it's more of a personality haircut, because you want to bring out what's really beautiful in a woman. And then we have, from the early 70s or late 60s, we have Debbie and Janice Dickinson. This was shot by Avedon, and it was our Gallant that did this haircut. And it's so modern right now, and we're back again to square one. And this is Carly Kloss, and this is when I chopped her hair off about 10 years ago, and this was the day before Victoria's Secret. And they were all upset, but it made the news. But a lot of girls wouldn't cut their hair that short, so they ended up calling it a lob instead of a chop. Well, I'm going to bring back the chop.
Well, we're so excited to have that, Garin, and people are tuning in from everywhere. If you're just joining us, we're here in New York City with legendary hair master Garin on behalf of his brand R&Co, doing a complete transformation on his beautiful model Sonia. I'm here. If you have any questions, any comments, I'll give you guys some shout outs. I see we've got people watching from the UK. Great to have you here, Sharon. Sarah Allen is excited to see this change. Guys, you want to watch this all the way through, see the master at work. We've got Melody from Snowy, Wyoming. Great to have you here. Ming Tan from Austin, Texas. Guys, let us know where you're watching from. I'd love to give you a shout out. And also let us know what questions you might have for Garin about this makeover, about his inspiration, about his legendary career. So it looks like you're ready to get started.
I am, and I first want to start off with the shampoo that I suggested for Sonia was the television shampoo and conditioner. And the reason for that is because she's got naturally a soft natural wave in her hair, and I wanted a lot of shine. And then we have two other ones that I would suggest that if she's working a lot, she would use the Palm Springs Deep Conditioner. It's a pre-mask put on before. And then she would go right into the shower and use our analog. It's a 2-in-1. So I'm going to start in the back, and I'm going to determine the length that I want. And I'm taking a very pretty deep section because I want the hair to have as much punch as possible. And it's like any other bob. I just go straight across, and I'm going to start at the back, and I'm going to work my way towards the top.
Does the thickness or density of her hair have anything to do with the size of the section for the baseline?
Yes, it has to do with how much hair she has between here and here. And if you notice, she's got a high hairline. So I want it to be kind of, blunt and dense. Could I have some water, please?
So today Tom is watching. Yesterday we were with Tom Priano and Garen was commenting, and now we've gone the opposite way. Tom is commenting. He says hi from Brian and, oh, I lost it, Ortena?
Arita.
Rita, sorry, I lost the, I was trying to remember.
Hi, guys. So I'm going to take my first cut. And the reason why I decided to cut this shorter on Sonia is because she has such a beautiful neck. And she has nice broad shoulders. And I think if I went here, it's just going to be boring. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be just laying on her shoulders. And what she would end up doing most of the time is pulling it back in a ponytail or tucking it behind her ears. So I'm going to take my first. I'm going to press her head forward, tilt it, hold it very straight. And I'm going to use a combination of scissor and comb. Scissor, comb, and razor. Always go a little longer to find out where you want to end up. I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Do you think, Garen, with her hair texture, it'll shrink up from wet to dry?
Absolutely, because she's got a beautiful wave to her hair.
And is that something that you feel the haircut will encourage, the wave?
Yes, it'll encourage the wave. Her hair has been so long that everyone's been using curling irons on her and flat irons. So it has definitely taken a toll on the ends. But she's a natural redhead, folks. She's not colored.
It's a beautiful, beautiful color. We've been seeing a lot more natural wave and natural styling, and perhaps kind of a lot, especially through Instagram, of like the modern shag. What's your take on that? How do you feel?
I love the
that?
shag, and that would have been another version that I would have done. But I think Sonia is more of this type of girl for now. Maybe in a couple months or a year or 6 months, she might want to go into something. Once she's taken this plunge, she's going to be more daring. And once that she gets different clients and starts doing all different kinds of work, she will be daring, and then she'll be known as part of this whole package.
So, in your career, obviously working with models and supermodels, and how often do these transformations make a difference in their career?
Well, I have to say that back in the 90s, when we were able to cut every supermodel, which doesn't exist anymore as a supermodel, we were able to transform them 3 times a year. And Linda was a muse, Amber was my muse.
And it was a fashion event.
And it was a whole thing. You just cut their hair, and it was like every time we got into it, we would do all these different haircuts. And it kind of made them who they were. They became celebrated.
There was something
and
to
then,
talk about.
yeah, and then, when Kendall started modeling, Kendall Jenner, she had the long hair, and when Vogue wanted to put her on the cover, we cut her hair, we whacked it off. I took off 12 inches of her hair. And from that point on, it became kind of a signature for her. And so it really is, I've been lucky that I've been able to have these girls trust me. Like Madonna has trusted me, Katy Perry has trusted me. Victoria Beckham, I took her hair completely into a little Mia Farrow haircut, and her hair was halfway down her back.
Now, I know you say it's luck, but obviously it's a lot to do with your vision. Like with Sonia here, I'd love you to talk about that. We looked at the images, and those of you maybe who missed the beginning, Garen showed us some images here, but in your mind's eye when you saw Sonia, how did this immediately come into your mind? Did it come from talking to her?
There was several different things that went through my mind, and one of the most important ones was that her whole book is kind of gauged with long hair. And I'm saying that I hate to use the word, but it was very catalog. And I thought she was too beautiful to be locked into one, the razor, locked into one thing. I think she can get more out of this. If they want long hair, they can put extensions in. Mm-hmm. Or if they're going to go short, they're going to put a wig on her head. Well, now she'll have a lifestyle. She'll really create herself.
Right.
So I thought it over, and I was going back and forth in my head from something shaggy to something blunt, and then why I went blunt is because, or more of this type of haircut, is because I've been watching a lot of Instagram feeds and people that are doing this cut, and I just wanted to bring my perspective to it. And my perspective is that I see that people are doing it, but they're doing it and they're not thinking that there's a human under the haircut. So the haircut becomes a hat. So I want them to think about the length of the neck, the length of the jaw, the broadness of the shoulders. How does she dress? Does she dress sexy? Does she dress feminine? Because you have to not just cut the haircut and expect it to live and have its own, it to work, because you don't want it to be boring. You don't want it to be a soccer mom. You want it to have some sex appeal to it. That is what, my vision is here for Sonia, is that I don't want her to walk around with it blown out and pressed out and tucked behind her ears. That's what I don't want.
Excellent.
I want her to move around with it.
Well, we're excited to see that, everyone at home. Lots of love coming in. I want to give a few shout outs. Louis Angelo wants to say hello to Garen.
Hey Lou, my first assistant.
Douglas McCoy is watching,
Doug.
working with you at R&Co. I'm fabulous as always, my friend, says Douglas. Lots of love. Rick Bennett is watching. Thanks, guys. And again, don't forget to hit that share button, so all of your hairdresser friends can see this and experience this up close.
I didn't know Cher had her own button.
So why switching to the razor now?
Because I want to encourage the texture.
So the scissor was for the baseline.
Yes, and then I'll go back in again with scissors. But if you notice, I'm just picking the hair up. I'm finding my guideline underneath.
So
and
now,
I'm adding to it because I want like little points.
So a defined outline and then getting a little bit looser as you move up the head.
Exactly. So here's my guideline, just fell away. And then I go back in and I...
Visually, I think sometimes people can be challenged with razor cutting. They don't know what it's supposed to look like. What are you looking for? I see you looking intently at the hair.
I'm looking at where I get the bend in her hair, and I'm trying to bring out the wave pattern. And I'm going in and I'm encouraging it a little bit because the back of her hair has been basically underneath all the rest, so it doesn't have as much movement as the front will.
So everyone's really excited. Gretchen Alamov says, what a treat. Hope you'd have Garen someday. Terry Flynn totally agrees with you that you're not creating a hat for your client's head. Lots of love coming in for razor cutting. Guys, if you have any questions for Garen, if you'd like me to ask him anything in particular about his career or his technique, I'd love to share that. So just go ahead and type it right in. It seems to me like you spend just as much time touching and moving the hair as you do cutting it.
Well, you have to, because in real life, Sonia is going to be touching her hair and moving it around. She's not going to be just combing it and just cutting it. I saw someone, I've done so many different versions of this bob or during my career. I've brought it back every so many years, but in a different way. And that's what I think is so interesting about hairdressing, is that everything circles around and everything comes back and then it becomes modern again. And as I said, that you got to remember that you could be really sexy and feminine with shorter hair as long as you're getting the right haircut and the right proportion going on.
Kimberly Ann Wright is wondering if you ever do this dry.
I don't prefer to cut hair dry because I just wasn't trained that way. And I also want to see the movement in the hair. And I find that if I cut the hair dry, that I'm ending up with one thing, and then when the client or the girl goes home, she shampoos it and it becomes something else.
I love your last time that we did one of these lessons, you talked a little bit about your history at Glenby and kind of when you were a young hairdresser and some of the exciting things that happened there. So again, you had that very technical background in haircutting
Well,
before you became this fabulous editorial hairdresser.
I was obsessed with hair since 13, so you have to remember that I'm an oddity. The other thing is that when I moved to New York, I really just fell right into the editorial world. And at the same time, I was working for a large company called Glenby International, and they had over 1,800 salons all over the world. And we did our training, and I worked under the Chadwicks at that time, and then Roger Thompson, who was the artistic director of Vidal Sassoon.
And responsible for many of the iconic Sassoon looks.
Exactly, because he was the one that brought it out there.
Yep.
And then he passed the wand to me because I was the most challenging hairdresser in the group.
I remember you saying how shocked you were.
I was totally shocked because I was always off. How would I say it? I was always like the bad boy. You know, I would bring out the razor, and in Sassoon they never even thought about the razor. You know, it was all about scissor cutting and cutting 2 hairs at a time. Now you see that you get a little bit of movement. It's sexy. And now I'll start working on the sides.
Sarah Lynn is wondering if you're twisting the hair a little bit before you cut it?
No, that's a trick for a show.
But I do notice sometimes you do just pinch it rather than hold it.
I pinch it, yes. I don't twist it.
Alexander
Now I
Marie?
always, when I'm working on the sides, I always keep her shoulders straight and I have her head turned in profile. And the reason why I do that is so that I can make sure I can get the right length. I get nothing in the way here. So I'm not pulling the hair to the back. I'm not pulling the hair to the front. I have a clear vision of where I'm going.
Such a little thing, but such an important tip. If you've never tried this at home, guys, makes a huge difference. And what a brilliant tip. Thank you for sharing that, Garen.
Especially when you're doing hair on longer lengths, like down in here. It drives me crazy when I see someone cut it in the back, cut it in the front, pull it out over the shoulder,
Right.
because it doesn't end up where it's supposed to end
Yeah,
up.
it's either too long, too short, or too light because they pulled it out over the shoulder,
Exactly.
too much elevation.
So I got my guide. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to take my next level. Now I'm going to really slither it all the way through because I want these pieces to be very uneven.
DeAndre Coleman, I think, has a great question. Did you ever get nervous working on celebrity clients? I know you kind of have worked on all the greats, and we played this game yesterday with Tom, guys. So if you're at home and you're wondering a certain celebrity, female celebrity, type their name and we'll ask Garen if he's ever done their hair. It's kind of fun to see because he's pretty much done everyone. But go ahead and give us a shout out and I'll ask him.
Well, I have one story that I guess was that back in the day when I was doing hair at home in Niagara Falls, everybody was bringing me a picture of Farrah Fawcett. And I would be like, oh, another Farrah Fawcett, another Farrah Fawcett. Now we're going back with the Farrah
Farrah
flip.
The Farrah.
Farrah. And so we're doing a Vogue shooting and they wouldn't tell us who the celebrity was. They just said it's very, and it was Way Bandy, who was a famous makeup artist, and it was myself. And at the end of the day, when they opened the door, in walks Farrah Fawcett, and in my mind at that moment was, oh shit.
And now you have to do that. Well,
now I'm doing Farrah Fawcett, you know? And so the first day we did her for Vogue, we did her like Farrah Fawcett, you know? And then the second day I just said to Polly Mellon, who was my mentor, she was the fashion editor at Vogue, I said to her, how do you think she'd look if I just did her hair straight and cut it into a bob or something different? She goes, let's try it. So it was a couture collection. And so to make a long story short, we brought her over to the clothes and this and that, and I just said, what do you think about me blowing your hair straight and making it dead straight. And she hawed a little and she went, yeah, okay, let's do it. You know, let's go for it. So I blew her hair straight, and then I ended up cutting like 2 inches off the bottom, because one day was all curly, one day was all, was all straight. And I remember going to the store the next morning. There was a huge blizzard, and I looked down at the New York Post, and there was familiar face, different look. Farrah Fawcett chops her hair off by Garen, and I was like, "Oh my God, I've made it!" You know, like.
So we've got some names. People are wondering, have you ever done Barbra Streisand's hair?
Yes, I have, and I done her like 3 times. I did her for Vogue, and we just did her a couple years ago for W Magazine. I shot it with Stephen Meisel both times. Kevin Aucoin actually did the makeup the first time, and the last time it was James Carlotta's.
Tons of love coming in, tons of shout outs. People are wondering, here's another one. Have you ever done Halle Berry's hair?
Once, when she first started acting, we did a thing where we did all the new actresses, and she was one of the newcomers. But I mean, one of my favorite ones is Madonna. I mean, I worked with her for over 20 years.
So
I even transformed Lady Gaga. I took her out of her costume into her look of, like long blonde silky hair.
And nowadays, I know you talked about early in your career, but nowadays, do you ever get nervous working with this mega? I mean, Lady Gaga's a household name, and you just act
I'm
like
always
yourself.
nervous before a shoot. I want to make sure I have the right things with me, the right tools, the right everything, and I think that's what helps me be who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're not nervous, I don't think you're going to do.
You don't care enough.
You're just not going to. You're not going to cause or make any kind of, how would I say, statement.
Yeah. It's a bit of.
And I think the girls or the actresses or the celebrities, they know my history, so it makes it easier for me in a way. I mean, I guess because they respect who I am.
Yeah.
So now here's the natural version of it.
Gorgeous. Lots of love coming in. Obviously, everyone's so excited to see this big change. Here's a good question coming in from Lance Davis. What's your secret to success in the session styling world?
Is never think you're better than anybody else, and you work as a team. I always work as a team. I've been taught that way. I was taught that way from the beginning when I was working with Avedon and Irving Penn. Is that everybody has to join in. I find that it's kind of ridiculous that the hair person's doing one thing and it doesn't connect to the makeup artist, and the stylist and the editor are doing something else. And this is what, this is kind of like what we do at R&Co. You have Howard McLaren, you have Tom and myself, and we work on the products together. So there's a little bit of me, there's a little bit of Howard, and there's a little bit of Tom. And we try to get the best thing going. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a little twister in her hair.
So that brings up a great point. In terms of the product, what's your input? We talked a little bit about it with Tom yesterday. Like, how do you guys develop new products for R&Co? Do you bring an idea to the table? Something like Twister, how did that come about?
Well, we wanted something that encouraged wave and curl. And we wanted something that someone with really frizzy hair could put in her hair, and it would control the cuticle of the hair, so it wasn't so fuzzy. And we wanted it to calm down. And working on the set, you have so many girls that need to have control, and because you're in humidity and all that. And so we wanted something that worked, and they came up with the formulation, and it does what it says it's going to do.
I've got Twister in my hair today. Actually, I do. Maybe you do too. A little bit. So here's another thing that I notice: session stylists, when you really know your product, you tend to use liberal amounts. Where people at home or some hairdressers, maybe they use just too little. I feel like
I don't use as much as Howard is the winner of using a lot.
Yeah, use half a tube, right?
Yeah, I use little, and then I always feel I can put more in. I really feel that I don't want to lose the quality of the hair. It might have seemed like I was putting a lot in, but she's got a lot. Sonia's got a lot of hair, so I want it evenly distributed. I don't like when people just put a hair product just in one area of their head.
Yeah, it's just very deliberate, the application. As I watch you, I mean, you've been spending 3 minutes putting the product in.
Well, I tell my clients, and my clients are like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, take your time, work it through, and don't put it on dry. If your hair is all damp, then put it in all evenly so that it grabs evenly.
So we've got the twister in the hair now, and as you're looking at it now, you're thinking what? Share us.
Well, I'm thinking, what I want to do is I want to encourage the wave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finger wave it slightly in the front so I can get some movement.
So all of you at home who didn't want to do finger waves in cosmetology
Well,
school,
I think it all comes back,
yeah.
and I think that it helps. We're hairdressers, man. Do something different. Don't just try to do the same thing over and over again. And when you don't understand what you're doing, it's kind of difficult. But if you notice, I'm giving the S-fate formation around the face.
So let's just make sure we get a good shot of that, Courtney, so you can really just see the S. So the twister was put into the hair and then hand-shaped into a loose finger wave. And is that something you're going to apply heat to, or just let it dry natural?
No, well, you don't have time for dry natural.
Yeah. And any tips with doing finger waves? I know, again,
Well, you
many
have to
people
use
struggle.
the wide side of the comb, and you have to get your old book out.
Yeah.
And really practice on a mannequin head.
And again, here it's just kind of a big wide.
It's a big wide wave. A lot of people are doing it now with curling irons and flat irons, but I feel that it closes the cuticle down, and you don't get the same message happening.
There's something about like a more organic finish where it doesn't have excessive amounts of heat to it.
Well, it's also a natural thing.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, when you're going out and you're doing things and you want to have a look, why not put more product or put a different product in so that you get this happening? It's like, it's not, so it doesn't look mumsy. That's my biggest fear of having this type of haircut.
Right, a longer
Is it looking like a
bob,
soccer mom?
Not today.
I hope
Right,
not.
Sophia?
Well, I got one thing going for me, that she's beautiful and she's willing to wear makeup.
So, Darren, are you still working with like regular clients, or are you always working
I have some
on
private.
supermodels?
I have private clients. That's always been part of my DNA. Is that I wanted to always keep my hands in the real world.
Absolutely.
Because back in the day when I started, everybody was basically, you'd have your fantasy, which was in the magazines, and you bring that picture into the salon and you say, is there a chance that I can have that? And now I still think people should have that opportunity to be able to bring the fantasy to the client.
That's brilliantly said.
I'm
Unlike
stuck.
Yeah.
The cord is stuck.
Bring the fantasy to the client. I mean, those are the magical moments that happen in the salon.
But a lot of people don't do that. They think that they're going to do it the way the client is going to do it, and I think the client really wants to see the best version of what's going on. They don't want to see what they can accomplish at home. And then you get them coming in for special occasions.
Yeah, show them the extra glamour.
See, like I'm just moving the hair around and just drying it and trying to encourage. And I want to get as much movement as I can.
In terms of heat and airflow, are you on a higher setting?
I'm on a high setting right now and a high airflow because I'm controlling it. Are you okay? Is it too hot?
A high setting and a high airflow. And I notice you're using your hands to manipulate.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the wave the way I want it.
If the hair is like a fabric and with the heat you can bend it and shape it. So if you're just joining us, we're here in New York City at Blonde Studio. It's our home studio here in New York City. I'm Gerard Scarpese, co-founder of the Hairbrain community. Had the pleasure over the past 2 days to work with two brilliant hairdressers. Yesterday was Tom Priano, today Garin, both a very important part of the Arnco collective, along with Howard McLaren. Garin just did this incredible makeover. If you missed it, good to know that once it's done, you can go back and rewind and watch it at any time. So you can see this all the way through from the beginning. If you want to see these guys live, Tom, Garin, Howard, they work at different shows throughout the year for Arnco. They've got what's called the Legends Tour, and you can head to RANDCO on Instagram and see some of the next dates that are happening. And then throughout the year, they also have the Vision On event. So these are really unique events within the industry featuring Garin, Tom Priano, Howard McLaren, really showing their approach to the craft and their love of what they do in hairdressing. So remember, RANDCO on Instagram to stay up to date on when these events are happening. All right, Courtney, now let's get back into this styling.
Okay, so we're really moving it along now, and it's getting to the point where I might release the, you can take the front one out. I might release the clip.
So how do you know when to release the clip?
Well, because it's almost dry. The surface is dry. See, I like a product that dries the surface so that the interior of the hair still has some movement. And that's what's like happening right now.
Like a light shell on the surface?
Yeah, it's a protection.
Yeah. And then will that allow you to kind of keep working with it?
And then I can still play with it and get what I want out of it. I have 40 minutes.
So guys, if you have any questions for Garin or anything at all, give us a shout out. And we're still playing that great game where you name the female celebrity or supermodel and we ask Garin if he's done their hair. There was one that I definitely wanted to ask you about. Have you done Audrey Hepburn's hair?
Yes, I have.
Really?
I got lucky.
Wow. Let's hear about that.
Well, she was always one of my biggest. Breakfast at Tiffany's, are you kidding me? Any of those movies, and she was always like the perfect actress. So adorable and funny, and so at one point, Vanity Fair was doing a photo shoot, and Stephen Meisel was doing the pictures, and they asked if we would do it, and I was like, that was when I went in really nervous. I was like,
she's a goddess.
She's a god. She was like everything. And growing up back when I grew up, it was such a perfect girl. Yeah. And she wasn't big and sexy, but she was like just absolutely adorable. I even got to work with Sophia Loren, which takes me a lot of inspiration. Wow. And, Madonna was basically my Marilyn Monroe, so, and I did the whole sex book with her, which we had a riot.
I remember the book. Really made some waves.
It's a collector's item now. Yeah, it did make waves, but we had a riot because it isn't what you think it was. It was all staged, and we were laughing so hard through the whole thing.
So now why moving her head down?
Because I don't want to burn her face, and
that's a good reason.
And I'm drying the edges of her hair so I can keep the wave pattern.
Terry Flynn is wondering about R&Co products. Is it made by a big corporation, or who's making
Luxury brand partners
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty small corporation, and the
with
people
big
that are-
names.
Yeah, the people that are making the product, the decisions are actual hairdressers. You've got Howard, Tom, and Garen behind R&Co making the product. So I think in terms of the beauty industry, it's actually a pretty boutique kind of company.
And the other thing about it is that, you know, with the background of Howard and all that, he pushes the envelope of wanting things to be inventive, you know, because that's where he, you know, where he made his claim, is as he is with the razor. But he would choose a razor with no guard, but I value my fingers too much. But that's his art.
Here's a great one. My friend Tim Bricker is wondering if you ever do Deborah Winger's hair.
No, I haven't.
That's an interesting name we don't hear very often, but she was a unique beauty.
Wait, Deborah Winger?
Deborah Winger, yeah. Which was, I guess, what's her most famous movie?
Wait a minute, I did do Deborah Winger.
Yeah.
Was she in the Blade Runner?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, I did her.
Yeah,
Yes, I did her.
So this is it.
I've done Charlize Theron. I've done. I mean,
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman is one of my favorites because we have so much fun. She'll come in and she'll like, who am I going to be today? You know?
Here's a saucy question. Who's the most attractive male you have had in your chair? That's a tough one, huh?
I guess my husband.
I knew you were going to say that. Tom, if you're watching, I knew he was going to say that. Good answer. So again, just getting that wave in. The finger waves is loosely placed into the hair and now drying with the hands.
See how I cup it? I'm trying to encourage it, and I will teach my client how to do that too.
The classic Deborah Winger movie was Terms of Endearment.
Terms of it, yeah, right.
Again, all this natural wave was released through the cut.
Through the cut and the losing the weight of her hair, the length. I mean, we cut off, what, 12 inches?
At least. At least.
What do you think, Sonia? Are you into it?
Chastity Martinez is wondering how old you were when you started with hair, Garen. When you started
13.
doing hair. 13.
I was 13.
Like literally working in a shop? Or just
No, I
doing-
couldn't. I wasn't allowed.
Right.
The whole deal was is that my mother was prematurely gray. She was a natural redhead, and I never knew her as a redhead. But she was in her 30s, and they would do her hair like some little old lady. So she'd come home, and I would look at what Kenneth was doing on Jackie Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe, and I would tease her hair up into these big bouffants. And before you know it, I started doing all her girlfriends for $1.50 a haircut, and I had no idea how to cut hair. And I would take this little book that they used to sell at the grocery store, and I would copy the hairstyle. And
Like a hairstyle guide.
Yeah, it was a hairstyle guide.
Amazing. And then you went to traditional
Then I went to
cosmetology
beauty school, got my license, and then had a small salon that my brother opened up in Niagara Falls.
Hey, was your brother a hairdresser as well?
No, he wasn't. He just knew he could make money out of me.
Yeah. He put you to work.
And then I went to Glenby.
And was Grundy kind of when you made the big move, you know,
To
from
New
Niagara
York,
to New
yeah.
York City?
Yeah, Tom and I met at a Glenby salon, and then we became a couple, and
Well, I don't know. I know you were watching yesterday, but did you hear Tom said he was looking through the newspaper and he saw this photo of a man with beautiful long hair and a mustache.
beautiful long hair.
Style director at Glenby. Are you looking for a job? And he came in for the interview, and that's when he met you. You were
Exactly
the model.
what happened. My marriage ended. I have a son who's an artist, but we did everything together. We've been together for 47 years. So
Tom is asking you to tell a story about your classmate who saw your work in Harper's Bazaar. Ask him what a classmate said when she saw your work in Harper's Bazaar.
I did all the girls' hair for all the yearbooks and for all the proms. So I did the big flip
In high school.
in high school.
Yeah.
And so the second picture in this new Harper's Bazaar story has the big flip with the bow. It's just, I remember when you did that in your basement.
For my high school photo.
Yeah, for your high school prom.
Mind you, I think obviously, people say it all the time, everything comes back, and everything that you've learned how to do, you keep it in your arsenal.
It's all up here.
Yeah. Is there anything that you hope doesn't come back? Any particular styles that you never really enjoyed?
Well, not really. I just think it depends. It's the eye of the beholder, and I also feel it's how it's executed. Like, I don't like hats on people. I don't like, what I mean by that, I think that every girl is human, and every girl has a different shaped face. They have different quality hair. They have different proportions to their body. And to cut them and make them look like they have a hat, that's when I find it ugly. I really, and you see it in the airports. You can't deny it. You look and you go, ooh, I would never want short hair. Yeah. But then you see someone with a cool short haircut, you want to own it, and I don't just cut their hair. I tell them about how much makeup to put on, what else, what to do. And I want her to put a red lip on. I'm pretty dictatorial. I teach them what they have to do. It's like many times I'll give someone a new haircut, and I'll say, all right, you can't be a brunette anymore, you have to be a blonde. And then you change the color of their hair.
I'm sure
or you have to dye it jet black.
And that's what a lot of clients are looking for, an expert who has a vision.
Yeah.
You're not just
I always felt the
serving.
disconnect when someone would send their client to a colorist, and then you would be doing their haircut, and the color highlights are in the wrong place. I mean, I even draw sketches out for them to go to the colorist to where the highlights are supposed to go.
Excellent. Chastity Martinez is wondering if you thought the mullet was a good style.
I love it.
You love the mullet?
On the right girl.
Ah, right. The edgy mullet.
Yes. She's got to be a cool chick.
Yeah.
She's got to be really thin and tall or sexy.
Yeah.
If you turn anything into sexy, I'm into it.
I love it. Lots of love coming in. What an incredible story you have as a hairstylist, says Terry Flynn. The haircut has gorgeous movement already, says Alexandra Marie. Lots of love, lots of support for this makeover. Sonia's putting on the red lip now, taking it to the next level.
She's into it. See, she's into herself.
Yeah.
Here's a girl that had long hair down past her breast, and now her hair's short. I mean, her agent had a problem, but he got over it.
Well, I would imagine it's actually going to be really good for Sonia's career to have a makeover by Darren.
Well, time will tell.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet on it.
That's cool. I like that color. What do you think? You like it?
So it looks like you're starting to loosen it up now.
Now I'm going for it, yeah.
So you feel like you got it to a
So I'm
certain
kind of
point?
getting into the Nadia thing, where it's going to have, it has movement.
So taking off the diffuser, what's the thing?
I want to get the roots moving around, so it gets bigger.
He's using air.
The bigger the better. And I'm using cold air.
Cold air? Why cold?
Because I've already set the style in and the wave pattern, and I'm using the cold air so that I can diffuse it and get it to have much more, I won't lose the curl. If you use hot air, you're going to only straighten out the curl. It's the same thing I tell people when they use our dry shampoo, Death Valley. if they put it through their hair and they're spraying it, what I encourage them to do is take a cold hair dryer and blow it through their hair so they can clean out all the oil.
All the tips and tricks today. And it really is the little things that make a difference between good and great.
Huh? Well, it's a little more work. It's showing people how to do hair, you know? It's the whole idea. I want you to play with your hair. Get on it.
Is that something you typically do towards the end? Have your client kind of get their own hands?
They have to love their hair. They have to feel it. They got to know what's going on. And if you notice, I'm using a wide tooth comb to go over the surface.
Is that just smoothing the flyaways?
No,
But
it's smoothing the flyaways, but it's also me checking out the haircut. And then I'm going to start moving it around.
beautiful edge, lots of texture, really brought out that natural wave.
And now I'm going to use a little bit of Trophy.
Lots and lots of love. Rachel Kilgore says she loves it. Everyone wants to get a closer shot of that product. You said it's called Trophy. What is that exactly?
It adds volume to the hair, and I end up using it as a light hairspray because it adds texture.
Smells
and it keeps
lovely.
the texture. And there's going to be a new product coming out called Balloon, which is going to add a lot of volume and a lot of height, but I don't have it here today. But I thought I'd get it a little sicker and show her how she can do something a little twisted, kind of like Lolita.
So so those are on bobby pins.
Yeah, it's
on grips.
little bows, little bows that I made with ribbon.
Lovely.
Get this one a little tighter.
And do you look at the wave and kind of put it in the bend of the wave?
I'm putting it in the bend of the wave, but I'm also putting it in the way she looks. I mean, I'm working her look now. And if you saw the Harper's Bazaar thing, it was all about bows. Let's see how you look on there.
So it's just a piece of fabric that you tie into a bow
Yeah,
and
it's
you
just
put a bobby
ribbon,
pin
just
through it.
ribbon. And then a little bit of, if she was going to an event, then I would just use a little bit of outer space.
And what is outer space?
It's
Let's
a hair,
get
it's
shot
our
of
light
that.
hairspray, flexible. Okay, let's stand up.
Let's get a shot of
Let's
that
get a
last
shot.
product there, outer space. And that's a flexible hairspray from
And then you
Arco.
also have Sail if you want a little more beachy look. This would be her everyday thing. And for dry shampoo, I mentioned Death Valley. And that's the one you would blow dry through the hair with a cold blower. But I also, here's my winner. This is Skyline. That's a dry shampoo that I would put at the scalp.
How do you choose?
Now let's take pictures of her on the white background.
All right, we're ready for the big reveal
And
here.
then I'm going
the
to
big
change a
shoot.
little something, so just come in there. You can move your head around. And now I want to do one other thing. Stay right there. Could I have the green bow?
So changing that look up a little bit, just changing the parting.
Yep.
Oh, there you go. That's a beautiful angle there. Oh, that's gorgeous. Really lovely.
And then I can change this up a little bit more by adding this here.
So it's all about bows, isn't it?
For today.
For today. Gorgeous. What a beautiful makeover for Sonia. She's obviously feeling it, loving it. Ready for Milan. I heard you're headed to Milan.
And she's going to be very, very good in Milan. But just see how it just moves around. Play with it. You can look, yeah. Go on, don't be afraid of it.
Lots of love coming in. Everyone's saying how wonderful you look. Excellent, beautiful. You rock it. Wow, looks really good. Oh my Lord.
Am I dope yet?
You're dope and fly and all those things. I like it there. That's really
Now
quirky.
there's a sick
Yeah,
little girl to
that's
take home.
Nice and quirky. Love it.
So, thanks, Hairbrain.
Thank you, Garen.
And we did it again.
It's been a pleasure. I hope you guys all enjoyed this. Now remember, if you came in at the end and you just saw this beautiful finish, you can always go back to our Facebook page. You can watch the video from beginning to end and see all the beautiful things that Garen shared.
Hey, thank you, Levi, for being my assistant
Levi,
for
come
the
on in
last
here.
2 years.
It must be a great job. I think a lot of people out
And
there
so,
would be
anytime you need a
love
haircut, you're going to contact Levi, and then you'll be coming to me to get it cut.
that. All right, guys, peace out. We'll be back again tomorrow for another Facebook Hairbrain Live. I'll see you then.